Hello everyone and welcome to PostGrad Movies. I'm Kulguy, that's the Cognitive Gamer, and I'm going to go ahead and start this podcast by tickling him because he's right next to me right now.
Stop it. Get out of here. No! And why did you point at the computer when I'm right next to you?
Because I'm used to talking to you through a computer.
We're right here.
So in my mind's eye, you were through the computer. Don't touch me. Don't.
My hand.
Oh my god.
My hand's on your leg.
This is gonna
Cool
be
guy.
This is gonna be the weirdest podcast ever.
We should have set up the table so we can actually look at each other.
Look at each other while we're talking.
Right.
Wait, let's move chairs.
Let's pretend we're on, local TV.
Local news and whatnot.
Yeah.
So the Cognitive Gamer.
Yes, cool guy.
Yes,
I heard that you have a new. Wait, who's interviewing you?
Who's in? I thought we were interviewing each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I heard you had a new book coming out.
Do I have a new book coming
out? It's called Pieces of a Heart, and it's about your experiences going to India and saving the rare chipmunk.
The rare chipmunk in India, yes, definitely. Well, I mean, it was a great experience, at least in my opinion, because I got to explore not only aspects of a culture, but aspects of a species. That was way too professional.
That's the worst answer. Aspects of a species?
Aspects of a species.
Well, that should be the title of your book.
Aspects of a species.
Aspects of a species.
Right, about the chipmunk. Well, it's because I decided to study, different types of niches that they wanted to go into, and the problem of over-commercialization, the black market, and the intrusion of an enormous populace into their overall area. So it's nice.
And I heard the inspiration for this book also inspired you with your new record, Aspects of a Species.
Aspects of a Species.
It's funny that you said it because it's the name of your album. So you just plugged it with the other plug.
Exactly.
Right,
yeah.
and you inspired, you had a lot of Indian instruments, kind of like the...
Yeah, it was a weird Indian jazz fusion mix.
Got it.
With a bit of fuzz over top.
A lot of drums, or is it like, I don't know what...
There's a lot of everything, and every once in a while you get a trumpet, so it's nice.
Is that what happens in India?
That's what happens in India, yeah. Yeah, except instead of the trumpet sounding like... they sound like... It's different.
I think it's a flute.
That's definitely one of the Indian trumpets.
You're the artist. I shouldn't question you.
All right, anyway, the point is, I'm here with the Cognitive Gamer because I'm in Colorado and he's in Colorado. We're going to a wedding! Woo!
Yeah, we're going to a wedding for... Should we say their names?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Should I just say the Bone Wedding?
Yeah, the Bone Wedding. We're going to the Bone Wedding. I wish that was a joke. But that is not a joke.
It's not a joke.
We're
going to the Bone Wedding.
That is not a joke.
We're going to Bone at the Bone Wedding. Yay!
I'll high five that. Yes, why not? But yeah, the point is, we're here. It's going to be great. And
this is sad because this is their wedding present.
Is this their wedding present? Happy wedding! We have no money.
Okay, up like the morning of for them to listen to, which would be sad that they listened to this right before they got married.
I'll give it to them for the rehearsal dinner, so it'll still be like this week's podcast.
You're not even in the wedding, and you're going to.
I'm going to the rehearsal dinner. Yeah,
because I'm going to. Isn't that great?
Yeah,
are invited by association.
Yeah. Though, okay, can I just say that for the rehearsal dinner, you saw the dress style that we're supposed to do? Well, it's called like, what is it?
Casual.
No. It's summer party attire. That is the description of it.
It's like sundresses and for men like khaki shorts and a nice
no. Just no. The point is, when I read that
fedora,
that
made out of straw,
that was single-handedly the whitest thing I'd ever heard in my entire life.
That's not true.
It was so white.
Cody.
It was so white that I had to ask them what it was.
I don't even know
because I
think they made it up. I think they opened up a magazine and saw summer party attire, and then
they said that one. That's what we want. Now I was so confused because I didn't want to assume that it was the whitest thing ever. Because the first thing that popped into my head was the type of dress that people wear to like country clubs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's about right.
Which is about right, but I didn't want to assume that because I felt almost like reverse racism or whatever kind of thing. So I was like, what is summer party attire? And then it was like, khakis and a polo.
Oh, you have to wear khakis?
No, well, something like anything like
jeans?
Like no, not jeans. He said not jeans.
Not jeans.
Not jeans.
How about khaki shorts?
Well, maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna look like a Cuban old guy because it's
That's
like
what
it's
summer party. When you're brown, summer party attire. If you just wear a hat, you're Cuban.
just the bright. Well, like
And all white clothes.
my pants are gonna
Okay.
be white long pants.
Okay,
Okay,
right.
and then a button down blue shirt with lines going down.
Oh, it's
like-
kind of like what I'm wearing, but without the stripes.
So we're gonna be matching. Oh my god, that's
We're not gonna
disgusting.
be matching. We're just gonna.
What are your shoes like?
You already have your shoes picked out?
I had to bring them over here from Puerto Rico. It's not like I could be like, I'm gonna go ahead and bring my entire shoe collection, which is 5 shoes.
I don't know. I'll probably just wear tennis shoes because I don't give a crap.
Fair enough. Do we have to give presents in a rehearsal dinner?
No.
Okay, good.
Do we?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I'm asking the audience.
You're asking
Write
the
in to
audience.
postgradentertainment@gmail.com if we have to bring a wedding.
Let us know on the PostGrad Facebook page if you have ever heard of summer party attire before this moment.
So we're going, and I also never heard of this. Tomorrow
Okay.
we're going to a weird dinner.
Right, the meet and greet thing.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either.
Yeah. So I'm not in the wedding party, but I'm doing all. Yeah, he is. But I'm doing all of the wedding party things. It's really weird. And I was invited to that meet and greet, and apparently it's a meet and greet for all of the bridesmaids and all of the groomsmen.
Plus their plus ones.
Really, they're plus ones too.
Like Glitz and Tits can come. My girlfriend.
Really? I thought I was your plus one.
So, you're just
If
there by proxy.
What? I'm not your plus one? Oh, come on. I'm more important than I have more followers on Twitter than Glitz and Tits.
It's not important.
I just got 2 more followers the other day. It was,
I get like 1 a week on average, and then they
Really?
usually.
and then they leave. They're like, this guy's awful.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't Twitt enough. So yeah, the meet and greet and the Bone made it very clear that I should come because there'll be Qdoba, so I'm excited.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
In the meet and greet?
the meet and greet will be catered
Catered
by
by
Qdoba.
Qdoba.
The next night, I have no idea what's going on. I've only been to like 1 rehearsal dinner.
I've never been to a rehearsal
Never
dinner,
been to a rehearsal.
so...
It's really boring.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have to, like, repeat things over and over again?
Well, it's just like it's like what you're gonna do for the wedding the next day.
Gotcha.
So
Do people, like, practice their speeches and whatnot?
no,
Okay. I was going to be like, that's stupid. Why would you let them
no,
know
because
your
that's at the
speeches?
reception. This is mostly just for the ceremony. So it's like you'll come in and be like, all right, so if you're a greeter, you'll be at the door. What essentially like you get your assignment.
Right.
Assigned to whatever role you are. But last week I went to the bachelor party.
Oh, and how was that?
It was a lot of fun. It was pretty small.
Okay.
I was like,
You ate
6
wings.
of us. We did eat wings. How do you know we eat wings?
Because you told me that the
Right.
bachelor party was going to be at a wings place.
oh, right. Well, we decided to go to Hooters.
Oh, Hooters. Okay.
Hooters.
All right.
Because
Which is the real wings and breast place.
mostly breast.
Mostly breasts.
Actually,
Chicken breast. We're referring to chicken breast.
Right.
We are not objectifying here. So continue talking
because
about
they work at
breasts.
Hooters. Like you get tips based on your objectification.
Right, like
It's
like
weird.
the hiring principle in Hooters is pretty weird. Like I remember hearing from someone that used to work there that one of the managers from one location
Mhm.
would have the girls stand with their feet touching the wall, and if their breasts did not touch the wall as well, they wouldn't be hired.
That's gross.
Right? Anyway, keep going.
So yeah, so it's that crap, which is a bachelor party. So it's like
Right.
you have to do the bachelor party cliche thing. So we did that after drinking very heavily,
Right.
very heavily,
Okay.
like very heavily.
All right. Who'd you make out with?
No one. Whoa, gross.
gross.
No, I'm not making out. The only thing I made out with was a fond chicken wing
Wow.
and a bottle of vodka,
Okay.
and and then we went to a strip club. So
Oh, really? You went to a strip club, and how? Was
yeah, it was okay.
Where was it like a dirty
Bachelor
kind of
liked it.
strip
They're
club?
all dirty. They're all. There's a clean strip
There
club.
are high class strip
It
clubs.
was not a high club.
Then again, we're not in freaking
The biggest
Miami.
thing that we did you go to a strip club while in Miami?
No, I've never been to a strip club.
You ever been to a strip club?
I've told you this
You want to
before.
go to a strip club?
No, I don't. I
You wanna
really
go-
don't want to go to a strip club.
You know, you have with Greeley. You
I
have a
do.
strip club.
I know.
And it's like in the bad part of town. I think it's right next to the marijuana dispensary, so we can go get.
Is that that's now the good part of town because marijuana is legal? Did you know that the marijuana is legal? Has anyone asked you about marijuana before?
Oh my god, you have no idea. I've told you this a million
That's
times.
the point.
And then I move here and nobody gives a shit. They're like, oh, marijuana? What's that? Like nobody cares that it sells here.
Right,
It's
and then as soon as
only
you cross the
everywhere
border, they go like, "You are driving from Colorado. How's the weed?"
Yeah, exactly. It
yeah.
makes no sense.
Right.
It makes sense, but it's like that weird. It's attractive because it's weak.
Right.
Anyway, strip club in Greeley.
Right.
I've heard it's terrible. If you know how to speak Spanish, though, it's a big plus.
Right. Yeah.
So I went to a strip club, and I was intoxicated, but I wasn't super. I was intoxicated enough to be like, this is almost normal. Like, this is just another day in the life, and not think enough about how sad these people's lives could possibly be. And I'm not talking about the strippers.
You're talking about the entire bachelor people part.
No.
You're thinking about everybody that was involved in that location.
There's a lot of people there that you just have to be like, your life is sad.
Right. Like the people that show up there every day.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of people that it seemed like they were there at least once a week or more, and they don't even have food there. We wanted to go to a strip club in Denver just because they had a buffet.
Right. But dude, a buffet in a strip club?
I heard buffets at a strip club are actually quite delicious.
What?
Yeah.
I would not trust anyone who told you that. I don't even know why you have friends that say things like that.
They're not friends, it's just kind of a truth. You go for the buffet.
Oh, really?
And you stay for the buffet.
Okay, all right, okay.
So anyway, we went to a strip club, and the Bachelor had a lot of fun, and that's really what was important.
Right.
But I think the weirdest thing was, I went with a lot of people that have never been to a strip club before.
Oh.
I've only been to one before, but even still, I was like, whatever.
Yeah, right.
It's strip clubs are pretty whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like,
throw your money away.
Well, we came at the end of the night, and then it's like, these poor girls have been working probably a really long shift, and they're just tired and want to go home
and sweaty
and take a shower, and so it's weird because they'll be dancing and they'll be naked or mostly naked,
right?
And they'll just start talking to "How's your day?" And I'm like, "This is fucking weird." And I have to say the F word because this is not a normal interaction. You're talking to me like I'm at a dentist's office about to get my teeth drilled, and you're dancing naked on a pole.
Right, like they're cleaning your teeth, and they're going how was your week? I haven't seen you in a year. What happened in that time? What have you been doing?
And
But they're not cleaning your teeth. They're shoving breast in your face.
Yeah.
Right.
Sort of. No.
Close enough.
Yeah. And I'm just kind of this is the strangest interaction I've ever had. You're tech, and then they're like, yeah, the job's whatever, And it's talking I'm talking to a secretary at a dentist's office, and they're naked on a pole. Some girls, kudos to some of them, because those tricks they can do on that pole, impressive. I was more impressed by that than any body boobs that I saw in that place. Yeah, so there's one where the pole's there and they can get their legs around it, and then they can spin in a circle, or turn upside down and then spin up. Impressive feats. And I was more impressed by that than any boobs.
You were just sitting there and you were like, yeah,
woo woo. It's like Cirque du Soleil,
right? Do it again.
There was one awkward time, and this is probably the only awkward time I'm going to talk about, because it was everybody in the bachelor party were watching this one woman. She was very tall. Literally, she was upside down on the pole, and her head touched the ground, and her legs touched the ceiling.
Wow.
She was also wearing 6-inch heels, but still, she was very tall.
That's enormous.
Yeah. So all of us are sitting there, and all of a sudden, they look over to the main stage, because there's 2 stages.
Right.
It's like Warped Tour.
It's like the Warped Tour of breasts.
Well, there's far less nudity at a strip club.
At a strip club. I was going to say.
Yeah. Yeah, so everybody left but me, because I didn't, I felt rude leaving, they're doing
leaving
a
in the
show.
middle of her performance.
Right, and I felt that's rude, and I get it, they're probably used to it, so I'm just sitting there do-do-do, yay, You're doing a job, and then she's like, thank you for staying and watching. I'm like, this is weird.
You didn't know whether to shake or just wave or something.
You don't touch the strippers.
You don't touch it. You just wave. You're like,
I was like,
bye.
No problem. Here's $1. Bye. So, strip clubs. That was my week.
Oh my god, that actually just reminds me of the Jimmy Carr joke where he says, "Do you think that when strippers leave work and they go home and they take off their clothes to shower, they go, ugh, more work?" Which is fair.
I feel only if they turn on music while they do it. They have to practice, right? Before,
I imagine they should practice. Or they have poles in the back where they practice some moves.
No, they probably just do during the day hours.
But what would that look like? You're there to watch a strip show or something, and the stripper's like, I'm going to try this double pirouette flip-a-flapper, and she grabs and then tries to do it, and then just falls on the ground, Like, you're supposed to practice before you show up. That would just be weird. I imagine they must have some sort of a pole at their house that they can practice.
No, probably not. They just show up. It's not that hard to dance. Some strippers do not do the pole tricks. They just simply walk around and take off their clothes, which I suppose is adequate.
Right, yeah.
That's the bare minimum.
That's the bare minimum in the job description.
Exactly.
Walk around, shake a little bit, and then take off clothing. Yeah.
So, it was also kind of like an off-the-highway type of strip club.
That's even worse.
It was actually quite clean, but from what I can tell, but the lights were all dim. Like, you have to imagine what these women look like during the day, because I couldn't, because it's really hard to see.
Right. And that's part of the point, I guess.
Yeah, right? Like, it makes you look more attractive, which I guess is good for them, and
right.
Because some of those people, man, they are some sad individuals going to strip clubs.
Well, I mean, we're going to be talking about strip clubs later on, aren't we? With From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, it's a good segue.
Right. Well,
into your week, because we're going to talk about strip clubs.
Yeah.
So how many strip clubs did you go to?
I went to 0 strip clubs, but I saw a strip club
in a movie.
So that was nice.
Doesn't count.
But the main thing in my week was the fact that, number one, I finished the entire Battlestar Galactica series because. Right. Equivalent to strip clubs is the point that I'm trying to make.
Your life is so exciting.
Well, it's because the scientist at the forest, one of them is a really big Battlestar Galactica fan, and he got me into it because he has the series there. So I started watching a couple episodes, and then I'd watch them on the days that I wouldn't be at the forest, and then I'd show up, and we'd all watch a couple of episodes together at the forest, and then we'd do that. And I finally was able to finish it, so that was pretty cool. It's a really great series, so if you ever want to start it, I would highly recommend you.
I've watched the first episode.
Right. I mean, it's definitely a very strange style of sci-fi. But the main thing that I did this week was the fact that I flew here, obviously, right?
Right. So how's the airport?
So it was. I'm not going to talk about it was normal. The airport that I went to, it was whatever. It was normal. I got my haircut like 1.5 or 2 hours before my plane was supposed to take off, so that was funny. But when I got to Miami, I have this thing that I do in airports where I never, ever have Starbucks anywhere. I don't do Starbucks.
What's wrong with Starbucks?
But I'm getting there. Well, it's overpriced, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So I only have Starbucks in an airport because Starbucks is the only thing that has like a flat fee that doesn't change whether you're in the airport or outside of an airport. Have you noticed that they're both the same price?
No, because I never go to Starbucks in an airport.
Well, that's the thing. Starbucks is the logical, I guess, cheap choice if you're going to get anything refreshing in an airport, because everything else, the price is
tripled,
upped.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Starbucks, everything is the exact same. So every single time that I go to an airport, I haven't had Starbucks in probably months or a year or something, as is the case now, which I haven't had it in like a year. And I was like,
can't even.
Right? First world problems. So basically what I did was, it's like my thing now. Whenever I go to an airport, I'm like, where's the nearest Starbucks? Okay. I'm going to grab one and take it on the next plane. So I was kind of hungry at the same time. So I was like, I'm going to go to a place or something. And I had to go to get a pizza in one place, in one of the terminals. And then...
Is this in Puerto Rico?
No, this is in Miami.
Okay,
so I had
not Puerto Mexico.
No, not Puerto Mexico. So I had to like walk over and get some pizza from one place, and then walk over and get something from Starbucks. The most important thing there was Starbucks, right? Okay. So I went to the pizza place, got a pizza, and then I was like, okay, what time is it? And I noticed that my plane was almost about to begin boarding at that moment. And I was like, but I need Starbucks. So I went over and I made the Starbucks line. And I'll have you know, I would have had no excuse if I missed this plane, because I had a 2-hour layover and it was totally my fault. So I go over and I grab myself a Starbucks, and it was, I don't know what it is about Starbucks, but everywhere that I make connections, whenever I come to Denver, it's always either Texas, so Dallas, Fort Worth, Miami, Orlando, Atlanta, or Charlotte, North Carolina. Those are the main connections. I got Chicago one time, but that doesn't count. So
that's usually if you're going from like east to west,
right,
or west to east.
Right. So basically, I was there, right, and I don't know what it is about Starbucks inside of airports, but there are always black women serving you in Starbucks. Have you noticed that?
Only in airports.
Only in airports, because like once you leave the airport, all of the Starbucks outside just hire hipsters.
Yeah,
that's basically
that's because they're history majors. No offense, Mark from VPO. I love you.
VPO Games are awesome sponsors that we just made fun of. Go buy stuff on their website, vpogames.com.
I'll go to Starbucks and buy.
Or go to Starbucks and buy something from him. So yeah. Anyway, the thing that I've noticed is that, especially in Atlanta for obvious reasons, but there are always black women serving people in Starbucks, and it's awesome. I love them. They're hilarious and they're great. And
say they.
Well, yeah, because it's usually two women.
Okay.
And they're usually like making stuff and then going like, like talking back and forth to each other the entire time. Okay. It is wonderful. I love it. And
so then you missed your plane.
No. So, well, they were taking forever is the point, because they were talking back and forth the entire time that they were making things, going like, did you hear about this person? Did you hear about that person? That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So basically the point is, I got my cup thing, and I don't know what happened, but I got so much. It was wonderful for the price in Starbucks. And it went all the way up, and then it was full of whipped cream, right? Okay. So I put it in my little backpack, and I started walking over, and I'm like, I can't eat, I can't do anything yet, because oh my god, I'm gonna be late. So I walked as fast as I could over to my actual terminal, and my plane left at 8:20. Okay, that's the departure time. Planes start boarding 30 minutes before. Okay, I was supposed to be one of the first people to board. I was, in fact, the last person to board that airplane, and and all because of Starbucks. So I show up and
because of your decision.
No. I am blaming it on Starbucks, because I show up and I'm walking and I say, that's my gate, D11, and I look at my phone and I blinked twice and I go and I look at my phone and it says 8:13 p.m. and I go, the plane is about to take off in 7 minutes. I think that I'm holding the plane back. And I round the corner, and what I see is the dude standing sort of like kind of like hanging out in the middle of the causeway or whatever. Okay. And he's like about to close the door, and I'm like, huh? And the woman looks at me and goes like, points at me and says my name, and I go like, that's me. And she goes like, you made it right on time. You almost missed it. And I was like, okay, great. So I bend back to get the actual boarding pass, and I smack the Starbucks cup. And just whipped cream and Starbucks fall all over the place, like right in the entrance of the gate. And I'm like, oh god. And the woman's like, oh. And I go, here's my boarding pass. No, it's this one. No, and I'm fidgeting and I'm going like, oh my god, what's happening? And I pick it up and I'm like, where do I throw it away? The plane's leaving. What do I do? And she goes like, I'll throw it away. And I'm like, you're awesome. Thank you so much. And she just looks at me like I'm the most terrible person, because in her defense, I am.
You are. You're the worst person.
At that moment, I thought, I am one of the worst people ever, because I'm usually a fantastic flyer. Why didn't you get
pizza earlier?
Because I'm usually a fantastic flyer. Mm-hmm. Like I'm always on time. I'm always helpful for everything. So it was only a matter of time before I spilled Starbucks in front of a gate. I mean, it was only a matter of time.
You're the worst person.
And I walk in and I walk into the airplane, and I saw, like, when I was walking through, they were like, go, take a right, go down that way. And I start going down there, and I see that they're detaching the thing that connects the airplane. Yeah. They're detaching it, and all of a sudden they look at me like, what's he doing here? And I walk into the airplane, and just the stares I got from everybody. Yeah. Like, it was these death stares and I had to walk. The worst part about the entire experience was that I had to walk all the way down to row 26 at the back of the airplane. Mm-hmm. So the entire time I was like, excuse me, pardon me, and everyone was just staring at me.
Like
just
wearing a scarlet letter.
Daggers. Exactly, yes. And then I sat down, and the people next to me fell asleep the entire way here. So
That's nice.
So it was decent.
Did you play Game Boy?
No, I didn't play Game Boy. I watched Winter's Tale.
Right.
The Colin Farrell movie that you have no idea what it is.
Nope. We're not going to talk about it either.
No, we're not. Anyway.
Another thing that we did this week was the 21 Jump Street?
22 Jump Street.
23 Jump Street.
24. Well, considering the fact that they already have all the way up to like 42 Jump Street planned. Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and talk about 22 Jump Street. So 22 Jump Street on IMDb has an 8.1 rating. On Metacritic, it's got a 71, and on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got an 84 with a 90% top critic score. It is directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, and it stars Jonah Hill, Channing Tatum, Peter Stormare, Wyatt Russell, Amber Stevens, Jillian Bell, Ice Cube, and a bunch of other people that just sort of stopped by and had one-off lines. So yes,
Joe Crest, Mark Evan Jackson.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, what is your one sentence review?
It's 21 Jump Street.
Really?
It's like, okay, it's a very self-aware sequel that is pretty much exactly the same as the first.
It is.
And not as good.
Really?
I did not think it was as
really?
good as the first one.
Okay.
I really liked the first one.
I also really liked the first one. But I thought, okay, so we'll stop talking that after my one sentence review. So my one sentence review is a sequel about sequels that keeps the charm, and the laughs are pretty much even. Like, it is basically almost what you want to do with a sequel, on par or slightly better than the original movie. And that's hard to do with a comedy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
With comedy films, it's tough to do. And
look at The Hangover.
Right, exactly. And I think that this movie did it really well. So let's start talking about it. First of all, the meta aspect of it, because holy hell.
And that's like the best part about this movie is the fact that I think it makes fun of movies such as The Hangover too. It's like, right. We're saying this is a sequel, so we're going to make it exactly like the first time.
And that because when I was talking to my brother about it, I told him that it wasn't like Community, because Community was slightly ambiguous about certain things when they did the whole meta. You know, the person would say things, but it wouldn't be very, very obvious. In this movie, they literally spelled it out for you.
Yeah.
To the point where they had lines that would say stuff like, no, you guys are going to do the exact same thing that you did before, and we're going to make everybody happy.
Right.
You know, it was
just do what you did the first time.
Do what you did the first time, exactly.
Right.
Except in college, and everyone's going to be great. And it was great because I love that they brought the budget into it. About halfway through the movie, they were like, have you seen what's going on? We blew the entire budget in the beginning. I mean, have you seen this office? And then he was like, you have to do whatever you do, catch these people and waste as little money as possible.
Yeah, and you could...
Oh my God. And then when he was like, where do we go? And the person was like, okay, take the cheapest route possible, and he goes into the sculpture garden, and he goes like, a sculpture garden, do you know how much that costs to make? And he just drives through everything, and he turns back, looks at the car, and goes, it's like he's driving through them on purpose.
Don't ruin the jokes for people. But
yeah, right.
No, the meta part of it was exactly the same thing. But if you take that out, it's pretty much kind of a pretty generic comedy.
Well, yeah, right. It is, but it's got a certain charm that other comedies don't really reach, you know? Because comedies can be funny, but they don't necessarily have charm. Like, for example, The Hangover, you were not charmed by the characters. You know what I mean?
No. First time.
Well, ish.
More about the scenarios.
Right. You liked the scenarios, but the characters weren't legitimately charming.
Except for Bradley Cooper. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. These people, Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, have a phenomenal chemistry.
Right.
And they worked really well. And they
Is
were really
it reminiscent of the Rogan Franco type of bromance going on?
Yeah, but
a little bit.
Yeah, but the Rogan Franco one is really weird.
Yeah.
That's just really weird. And I don't think they have the same amount of charm that these two guys have, because they go really well off one another and stuff like that.
I think they would disagree.
Especially when they went into the psychiatrist office.
That was pretty great. Yeah, I mean, that was the other meta part of it, was that Jonah Hill is essentially a woman,
in
this relationship, and how he's getting mistreated.
Exactly, yeah. And then the walks of shame.
That was pretty great.
However, I'm not going to ruin the actual. It's a great reveal, but when when Channing Tatum starts laughing at Jonah Hill and just running around and high-fiving everyone. You remember that scene? That was fantastic. That reveal of what was going on, that was hilarious. With Ice Cube's face. Oh, yeah. Oh,
great.
Oh my God.
That was probably the best part. Two things. One, the first time they were in that office, in Ice Cube's office, was the audio just completely effed up?
I didn't notice anything.
I noticed it.
Did you watch it in Greeley? That's why.
No, but then in the office again, and the audio is fine. So I'm wondering if like they built it the first time and then like built it enclosed because it sounded like they were enclosed and couldn't get the mic. So there's a lot of like echoes. So there's a lot of processing. I was like, oh, it's a little weird that they had to do that. But I could, it essentially was just a cube of right.
Yeah, it was just a giant. It was a giant ice cube. Right. That's the joke.
We should have said spoilers. It's really hard. It's very
not really, because in the beginning of the movie they say we moved to 22 Jump Street and they show you the giant office.
Right. But I mean, there's the jokes with it. It's very Naked Gun-esque.
Yeah, right.
Like a lot of slapstick, a lot of and that's what the directors do very well. A lot of side gags.
Yeah.
A lot of
but
I thought it was pretty okay.
And I loved
the ending was terrible. Except, like, the jokes at the end were great. But, like, before that, with the whole, like, catching, it was, like, it was almost seemed rushed. They're like, oh, my God, I gotta go to Puerto Mexico.
And actually, that entire scene, considering the fact that I was there when they were filming that, the choreography for that fight scene between the two twins and Channing Tatum, I was there, and I saw that entire battle, and I told you about it. Remember, I said he grabs the girl and swings her around and does a bunch of really great things. The choreography for that scene was fantastic. I love the choreography for that fight scene. And there were a ton of other things, like when the blow-up doll that he kicked against one of the twins and you couldn't see it, Like, it was stuff like that. The choreography was great, but the problem, the way that scene suffered, it didn't have a lot of dramatic tension because it was edited so fast, so fast-paced. And they had, I swear, they got probably 15 takes with Channing Tatum and with a stunt double of that scene and swinging the girl around and doing all that type of stuff from different angles. They got one of the cameras was pointing directly at me, and the other camera was pointing sideways, which is the one that you saw most of the time with Channing Tatum and pointing against the wall of people behind them.
Right.
That was the main shot, which I was to the left-hand side of that shot.
Right.
And for me, I would have loved to have seen that whole fight scene overall play out because there was a lot of dramatic stuff going on, with Channing Tatum like almost getting beat up by these people and not being able to make it and stuff, and all that didn't make it. They
almost turned it into Indiana Jones where he just pulls out a gun and shoots him.
Exactly.
Which I think that happened. I think this movie was overly long and they had hard times editing it down, especially in Puerto Mexico because it seemed very rushed.
Yeah,
they spent a lot of time at mixed state.
Yeah, exactly.
And who knows the reasons for that maybe. Right. But that's part of movies, which I think is like really weird because I noticed it maybe more in this movie because I heard all the behind the scenes thing.
Right.
That there's a lot more footage that you never see.
They had so much footage. They also had approximately 10 shots, I would say, of Peter Stormare, the main guy with the dash down his face, like the actual scar down his face.
The Mexican Wolverine?
Yeah, exactly. Mexican Wolverine, that guy. They had a bunch of shots of him running through the crowd, and he and the two goons pushed past me. Mm-hmm. And Peter Stormare pushed past me as well. And Channing Tatum pushed past me as well.
None of those things.
And the camera, the camera crane was approximately 5 feet behind me, pointing at my face because Channing Tatum was going to start running. And as soon as he started running past me was when the camera was going to chase him. Mm-hmm. And that they got approximately 10 shots of those three people running through the crowd.
Right.
And none of that made it.
And I wonder why. Just because it's like, did they not need another scene of them running? Was it because one of the extras was trying to be a ham and just ruined every single shot?
Oh my God.
Was it,
some of the that entire scene? I was focusing on the extras to see if I recognized any of the people that were there. And oh my God, some of the extras acting was horrible. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
right.
It was really bad.
By the way, for those of you that know me or that want to try and find me, I am in slow motion, which was really weird seeing myself in slow motion in that fight scene. You remember how he's swinging the girl?
Yeah,
and
you're right there. I saw it.
You saw
the hair.
Yeah, you saw my hair, but it's like you're looking for me, and all of a sudden you see the hair, and you're like, "That's it," and then it cuts.
Yeah.
So
maybe in the unrated director's edition.
Maybe I'll be Well, in the unrated cut, I'm sure they're gonna have the boobs that I talked about because there
were no boobs in this movie.
There was one. They did that shot 5 times. Specifically for the boobs. The camera person was in between, like in the middle of a giant crowd of extras, and he said, okay, you're going to grab the camera person, not the camera, and you're going to shake him around while he's walking through you. He's going to get to the boobs. The girls are going to like look at the camera and flash. And they did that like 5 times, okay? So So, and I
That's how
know
you keep morale up for the camera.
I know that they did that 5 times because
there wasn't even film in the camera.
Because there were at least 5 moments when all of the extras tried to climb over one another to see the boobies. So I know they did it at least 5 times.
And none of them made it.
None of them made it in.
So maybe there will be an unrated version.
There probably is going to be an unrated version,
right?
But yeah, I mean, it's really funny, and it is really weird seeing yourself in slow motion because I didn't think it was going to be in slow motion. I just thought it was going to be a normal kind of thing.
But that, like the whole Port of Mexico, I think just kind of was rushed and edited out.
And I want to talk about the special effects in Port of Mexico because when they had those flyover scenes where you saw the entire beach filled with people, that is not at all how it was. There were groups and clumps of extras of about maybe the max that they got was maybe like 5 extras, and then they put them about 50 feet away from one another, like dots of extras. And then I was along the shoreline of the beach, and I saw myself in one of the aerial shots talking to one of the girls that was like right by me. We were hanging out, and they were like, dance, and I was like, cool, how's it going? And I was kind of like just really crappily dancing. Like there was no music. They would put
so Diplo wasn't actually there?
Yeah, well, Diplo was there. Yeah, yeah, we met him and stuff. But so Diplo was actually there. But what would happen was,
I love how he wore a shirt that said Diplo on it, so you knew it was DJ Diplo. Yeah.
So, but what he would do is, or what would happen is, he would start playing and be like uns 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 uns, and then the people would be like, and music off, and it'd be like uns. And the person would be like, extras keep moving, and we would all be like, oh, and then he'd be like, and action, don't say anything, don't speak. It was really funny because he'd be like, okay, we're gonna play the music, then we're gonna stop it, and you have to keep dancing. Pretend you hear the music in your head. So
I think they did a really good job of like making it so, as you said, because it made it feel like they were just lots of people,
and they multiplied that. Like all the shots where they had the actors and the people in the background, all they did was say, okay, all of the extras crowd around them, so it looked like it was, shoulder to shoulder. But then after that, they would spread you out when they wanted to get the aerial shots. Perfect. And they would just fill the crowd with people. So like when they climbed out of digitally multiply them. Right. When they climbed out of the actual water, and they got out of the water, and that shot that you saw with everyone going like woo and cheering, that is an exaggeration. That is all CG. That is no one like that was there.
And it's weird to even think about that now, like, because when you think of CG, you're thinking like the high-end special effects,
right?
Like Transformers, destroying buildings and stuff.
Right.
But really, most of CG goes into like background and just crowd fill and things which is weird. Which is so weird to me to even think that, because when you watch a movie, you're like, wow, they got a lot of extras.
Yeah.
They didn't get any
extras. And by the way, the helicopter in one of the final scenes was actually there. The helicopter was actually flying up top. Not just that,
it exploded.
But I saw that the helicopter flew. They got a shot of the helicopter sort of spinning wildly right on top of the ocean. So that was a real shot. The helicopter was actually there. However, Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill were not there. They were added there in post-production. Like, not even stunt people. There were no stunt people hanging off of that. It wasn't stunt people. It was all special effects.
Well, didn't you notice there were no shots of, like...
There was one shot of them when they didn't show their faces.
Yeah.
Like, there were a couple shots of those, and those were stunt people hung by cords, and then they erased the cords.
Right.
But yeah, there were no shots with them actually hanging. It was all green screen.
Right.
And... I just thought it was really cool. But the thing that I really want to point out is the fact, they always say, or they were saying the stuff about like not costing a lot of money, and they started just exploding more and more things. And then in one scene they were like, wait, let's go through the robotics lab. And that entire sequence was CGI.
Yeah, and totally. You totally tell.
And that was the point. The point was we blew budget on making a CGI section. That was part of the joke, which I found
that was really expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
anyway, very meta, very outside comedy.
I don't know. I think it was better than the first one because it actually expanded on the characters, and the characters were good. They worked really well with one another, and they expanded the story, and they added. It was just as funny as the first one, and they added a bunch of other really great things to it, which I really enjoyed.
I think it was a surprise factor of the first one that I liked so much about it, because you weren't expecting it to be good.
Right, you were not expecting it to be good at all.
Not even a little bit.
Right, definitely.
And then it was good, so I think maybe that factors into it. But overall, Probably give it like a 7.5, 7.
I don't know. I'm
gonna give it an 8.
I think critics. Well, like the first one, the top critics actually give it a 90%.
Mm-hmm.
So I think overall it's at an 83% or so, 84, and I honestly the first one is at an 85% overall.
Right.
So they're about on par. I would honestly say I don't think it's a 90 because I mean we've discussed this before about the whole movies. It's no gravity, but
Jesus Christ.
but yeah. I think I would put it at an 85%. I really enjoyed the movie. I seriously did.
See, the ending just ruined it for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, spoilers. What about it? What about the ending?
Just the repeated old jokes. Like him being old, and like a lot of the shots are ruined by the trailer, which I know is unfair to the movie.
Yeah, but I mean that's a thing that's been going on that I really hate. The fact that they spoil most of the movie or most of the jokes with trailers, you know.
But it wasn't the jokes. It was just kind of like I don't know. It just seemed rushed. It didn't seem as good as the beginning, and it was a very lackluster second half compared to the first.
Fair enough. And, I can see that.
And you know.
Yeah, definitely. It felt that way. The ending felt rushed. You're right. In Puerto Mexico, it did feel rushed.
And I don't know if that was like from a script perspective or the editing perspective, and maybe that's why they seemed so rushed. Was because
right. And I mean, again, you remember the scene when Jonah Hill was in the Lamborghini and he was running around? That scene, they did that scene. I spent an entire day on a beach, on the side of a beach, being an idiot frat person, like drowning people in alcohol, which I talked about.
Right.
And they got that shot in so many different ways. Like, they had so much footage of that Lambo running around, and they had some fantastic. They had helicopters with cameras fly over us chasing that Lambo. I don't know, like how many times was it? Like 7 times? They had a helicopter fly over, and that was just a helicopter. They had over 25 times that the Lambo did that over the course of the entire day that I was there.
Right.
And they didn't use any of that. They used one shot, the shot where the camera was pointing down and the Lambo was rushing straight towards the camera, and all of a sudden the Lambo flies past the camera and the camera turns really quick.
Mm-hmm.
I was in that shot, but you couldn't see me because it was a really quick pan.
Right.
And that's the only shot that they used from that part.
And people wonder why movies are so expensive. This is why movies are so expensive, because there's so much footage not in the movie. If you just watch a movie, you're like, well, that doesn't seem like that much. In reality, it's a lot.
Yep. And the helicopter was escorted by like 2 military helicopters. You remember I sent you that video of me going like dum dum da da dum dum with all of the helicopters flying overhead?
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So that was a really expensive comedy then.
It is. You're right. That's the joke.
Though other than that, though, it seemed pretty low budget. I mean,
So. In the scenes where they didn't need more people, it was just the main characters.
You're in a dorm room, and that's really cheap.
Right.
They're actually on Tulane.
University. Yeah, they were in Tulane and they were in Loyola because my brother saw them filming in Loyola. And then he was like, look, 22 Jump Street is filming in Loyola. And I'm like, wait, 22 Jump Street is going to be filming here. And he's like, that's impossible. They're filming here right now. Look, I'm going to send you a picture of a giant statue, a bunch of statues that they put up that they drove a car through.
I mean, obviously, you have... That's weird that they use Tulane and that maybe they're
they use both of them, and the actual like that entire sculpture garden was built by them.
Right.
That was again that was the joke, and they built the sculpture garden.
Right.
So
all right, let's move on.
Let's move on to From Dusk Till Dawn. Anyway,
classier movie.
I would say honestly, if you want to see it in theaters, go ahead and see it in theaters. But it is a movie that you can watch with friends and just like piss yourself laughing and hang out with a bunch of friends.
Maybe it was the other thing that I saw it alone, and that's depressing.
Right. Yeah. Well, I saw it alone too because most of my people ditched out. So I was there. And I was there, and I was like, "That's me."
I was like,
I just cried a little bit.
Everybody else was like with their group of friends or their date, and everybody was around my age. I went on Cheap Movie Tuesday.
Gotcha.
And I was just so sad.
Okay, all right. So anyway, we are moving on. Our next movie is From Dusk Till Dawn. And on IMDb, it's got a 7.3, on Rotten Tomatoes, a 63 with a 50% top critic score. And on Metacritic, it has got a 52%. It is directed by Robert Rodriguez, which we've been talking about so much recently.
I know. He's just so good.
And it stars George Clooney, Quentin Tarantino, Harvey Keitel, Juliette Lewis, Ernest Liu, Selma Hayek, and a bunch of other people, including Danny Trejo, obviously, because it is a Robert Rodriguez film, and it needs some Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo's new movie, I don't know if you saw this, but it was in Redbox. It's called Ghostquake, which is about an earthquake and ghosts.
So it's like one of those sci-fi movies where they take two different things, they smash the name together, and they make a movie about it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's about an earthquake that makes ghosts come out.
Oh, okay.
Ghostquake.
Well, okay, so...
So it's also important to note that From Dusk Till Dawn was written by Quentin.
It was written by Quentin Tarantino, and we will be talking about that, I'm imagining, because I have a couple things to say about that. So what is your one-sentence review?
It's a cult classic written by Quentin Tarantino. If you like Robert Rodriguez's earlier work, who doesn't? This is a great movie to watch. You ever saw Planet Terror?
Yeah,
like from Grindhouse?
Right.
You'll fully enjoy From Dusk Till Dawn.
Right.
Unless you saw it because you're older than us.
Right.
Because this movie came out in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 6 years old. I did not watch this
movie. You did not watch this movie for obvious reasons.
But if you were, 15 and you watched it, you already know. If you're born in, the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. You probably saw this movie. Okay, so my one-sentence review is the first half of the movie is Quentin Tarantino. The second half of the movie is Robert Rodriguez.
Yep, totally.
That's what it's like. Right? Okay, so let's start talking about it. Okay, so I say that because that beginning
Reservoir Dogs-esque
was so Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, crazy guy kills, murders, rapes.
Right.
And then strange twists and turns.
Right.
Like dialogue that was pretty good.
The dialogue was great. I love their dialogue. And George Clooney's character and the way he spoke to people. Oh, it was great. Right. It was just bleeding Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino playing Quentin Tarantino.
Right? I could not help but laugh when they were in the RV and they had a shot of her feet, and I was like, because Quentin Tarantino has a foot fetish, and everyone knows he has a foot fetish. Do you not know he has a foot fetish?
No. How do you?
Everyone knows he has a foot fetish.
What? How do you know that he has a foot fetish?
Because everyone knows he has a foot fetish. That's the point. And
are there a lot of foot shots in his movies? I'm trying to think.
There were a couple of foot shots, including the part where the stripper. Sorry, it's the wrong trade. The stripper pours the alcohol or the tequila or whatever the hell it was over her body, and it goes down her foot, and she puts it in his mouth.
Right.
Yeah, there's a ton of feet things in reference to his character.
Yeah, I know. I get that. But I'm trying to think of other movies, too. This movie,
right.
Yeah. I was trying to, Kill Bill, were there? I think there's one...
Yeah, I mean, he's a really strange guy, but he writes...
Oh, yeah.
He writes and directs such great movies.
Which, it's weird seeing him act, though, because you're just so used to him being that, weird cameo Stan Lee character.
Right.
He just pops up into his own movies.
Except in Pulp Fiction, when he has that phenomenal line about I'm going to go ahead and use the N-word because I'm going to quote what he said about the whole...
Why is he always a racist?
Because it's more of a natural way to speak depending on the area where you're at, He doesn't
No, I'm saying that he's always racist in his own movies.
Well, right. So that scene in Pulp Fiction when they kill the guy in the car, the really famous scene, and then they drive it to the dude's house, and that's Quentin Tarantino, and he goes do I have a sign outside that says nigger storage?
Right.
And that is probably one of the funniest bits of movie that I've ever seen in my life. That conversation between Samuel Jackson,
I think it's
and
dead N-word storage.
Yeah.
I knew there was a word missing there somewhere.
Yeah, right. So, but it's so great. His writing style is so phenomenal. I love the guy. He's great.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I like his directing more than... I don't know.
You like his directing more than his writing? I love his writing.
It always seems so... I like his movies. I like his directing. Inglourious Basterds is probably his best work, in my opinion.
Really?
Because everything else is just so...
The dialogue is just so great.
Yeah, but it's just so... I don't know. Maybe I'm just becoming old and, just crudeness just kind of is...
Right, but I mean, at the same time, it's one of those things where people tend to censor works. Movies that are based in the 1950s don't have smoking most of the time and stuff like that.
Right.
Recently, there's been an upsurge in that. But he's one of those people that he makes movies about disparity and bad neighborhoods and stuff, and he doesn't censor himself. And I think that's really important because normal people in everyday life do not censor themselves at all.
But it's almost like he does it on purpose to be that. It's kind of like back when in the 1950s when movies were that was a big censorship thing, and that's when The Wizard of Oz came out because of this kind of thing, and that's when The Graduate came out as a backlash against the censorship, and that's why there's actually a lot of one, it was a really edgy movie, and it was a great movie, but there was also a lot of nudity going on, but very creatively censored or cut so it can make it through the censors.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even against backlash. And I kind of feel like that Quentin Tarantino does that sometimes, is that he does exaggeration for the sake of exaggeration, which is totally his style. Same with Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, it is.
So
Robert Rodriguez is just so good at making B movies.
You know what I mean? Totally. Cult B movies.
And I love. Okay, so I did not know what From Dusk Till Dawn was. I did not know the synopsis.
You didn't know
anything about
it.
Yeah, I didn't know about it. So that thing,
the vampires.
Yeah. So the vampires. Spoilers. So the vampires.
Sort of.
All of a sudden, when the chick is dancing and she just like flicks her head back and she turns reptilian, I was like, "What is happening right now?"
Right.
And it blew my mind. And all of a sudden, it just went full B movie. It wasn't like
totally.
It was
at the beginning, you think it's a completely different movie,
right? It's like a crime drama or like a thriller or something like that.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, it goes full B movie. It was like that moment in Scott Pilgrim when everything is normal. There's a couple things popping up on the screen, but then all of a sudden, the first evil ex-boyfriend bursts through the ceiling and fights him, and all of a sudden, like, you start seeing these crazy shots with comic book stuff, and you're like, what is happening right now?
Right.
That is the exact same thing I felt when all of a sudden everything went full B movie.
Which is kind of why Scott Pilgrim, I feel, is like a new age cult movie, like From Dusk Till Dawn, which was 20 years ago almost.
Yeah.
So,
oh god,
and it kind of has like the same status because it's kind of the same thing.
Right.
It's kind of like this ordinary scenario.
Ordinary, quote,
right?
Quote,
quote. It's like a normal movie. You think it's going to be a complete drama of these two people who rob banks and kill people,
right?
And they're just trying to get to Mexico, and then all of a sudden get devoured by vampires.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, it was just so.
That was the making of a good B movie,
right? It was just so crazy and so weird and stuff, and I don't know. I found it enjoyable. However, I watched it on the plane. So, like,
why would you watch that movie on the plane?
I didn't know what
it was. Rated R.
I didn't know what it was.
It's rated R.
So,
there's a rape scene.
There was a rape scene, but they didn't show anything.
Still, if somebody looked over, they would be kind of creeped out.
Well, definitely there was, and it was really weird because it made the dark comedy even funnier. Because there was the dude that was sitting next to me. This was the flight from Puerto Rico to Miami, which was 2 and something hours long, so it was perfect for watching that movie.
Right. Okay.
And
sure.
And I watched that movie, and the dude next to me the entire time was just like sitting staring at my screen, and I was like, "This is the most awkward thing ever." And all of a sudden, they go into the titty bar. and everyone's dancing there, and there's boobs everywhere, and I'm sitting there like, okay, all right, I'm just gonna own this.
God, you're like the person who reads Playboy on the
airplane.
I
didn't know what it was.
It was rated R. Why didn't you check that?
No, it was like when I watched Up. I decided to watch Up on an airplane.
Why?
Right?
That's like watching a 9/11 movie on the airplane. Why would you do that?
In the first 10 minutes, I was like. And I had to like turn to the window and be like, all right, pull yourself together.
Did you have a window seat?
Yeah, I had a window seat.
Okay, it wasn't an aisle seat. That's good.
It wasn't an aisle seat. No,
okay,
no.
Good.
I just like imagine the face of like a 6-year-old sitting behind me, just looking through, going like, "What is happening?"
You ruined a kid's life.
Just scarred, and forever he's gonna have like a blood and gore fetish.
So, how'd you watch it on the plane? Did you have internet?
I know. I preloaded it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So anyway, it was pretty cool and very enjoyable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you would expect. It's a B movie.
Well, it's a cult classic. So we're automatically going to give it a higher rating than it deserves.
Yeah, but it's a B movie with a Quentin Tarantino flair, which was nice,
Which he wasn't famous at this point yet. So it's kind of like, now you go back and you're like, I get it.
Right? Like, you see it and you're like, that's cool. That's totally his style.
Right.
But back then, it was, it was whatever.
Right.
And can we talk about his acting? Because his character was the creepiest person in the world.
He plays creepy people so
He plays them so well. I think it's his facial structure with like his
he just looks like a pedophile. Like Tarantino looks creepy.
Well,
if he drove a van and gave out free candy, it wouldn't surprise me.
It's his facial structure with like
his
W mouth. His W mouth. Have you noticed his W mouth?
Yes,
I don't know if it's a W mouth or an M mouth. Like it depends on the W for Wombo
if you're
or
kissing
M for
him
Mermaid Man.
Like Spider-Man or like Mary Jane.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. But but he'd be kissing your feet. But the point is,
imagine the weird things he does with his money.
I don't even want to know.
like he just has to be a dirty dude, right? Like he just has to be at a strip club getting high end strip like cookers and like
getting high on hookers,
no,
or on
high
hookers?
end.
Okay, high end.
He gets high end hookers.
Okay,
like you have to think, right? He's just kind of like that dirty dude that doesn't and does cocaine,
right? Yeah.
Or do you think he's like the total opposite of that, and that's why he writes that?
I don't know. I think he leads kind of a double life. Like I think he's a little bit more reserved than his character, I would say. He tries
he's not murdering raping people. So thank God. Well, he might be, but we don't know.
Well, yeah,
he probably isn't.
Well, no, he's not. It's just like
if you listen to this, Quinn, I'm sorry,
Quinn, because you know him.
Dude, I'm talking to the computer. I know him.
So
he's right here.
I mean, I think that for him, it's like he acts normal, but then like all of a sudden, like he gets these waves of weirdness that he has to satiate. That's how I see him.
Disgusting.
It is gross.
What a choice.
So the point
waves of weirdness he must satiate.
The point is, you can see From Dusk Till Dawn because it's on Netflix.
This is a Netflix movie of the week, not yet sponsored.
So new on DVD and Blu-ray and theaters this week. We have new DVD and Blu-ray. We have
talk at the same time.
The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Woo!
Yep. We have Joe, Walk of Shame, Ernest and Celestine, Joyride 3, and Authors Anonymous.
You forgot the Lego Movie.
The Lego Movie.
Lego Movie. Everything is awesome.
And
everything is cool when you buy the movie from a Mexican bread store.
So I'm going to give you some great news this week because you're not going to know any of the movies that are coming to theater. New to theaters is Think Like a Man 2, Jersey Boys, and in limited release, third person, Venus in Fur, and Norte, The End of History.
Venus in Fur. That's based on a book, right?
Probably.
Okay, because there's a song by Devechka called Venus in Fur.
So
I think that's based on the book.
So what's going to happen is we're going to watch How to Train Your Dragon 2 this week.
High five!
Yeah! That movie has great ratings, and I'm so excited.
We should do a live podcast. Like, we should record ourselves going to the movie, before the movie, and then after the movie. And just have a How You Train Your Dragon special edition.
I mean, I think
we can do it with the iPhone.
I think we can see if we can do something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And
Well,
Glitz and
we'll
Tits
see.
will be there.
We will see. Glitz and Tits will also be there, who has more followers than the Cognitive Gamer. So anyway, let's move on to news, Cognitive Gamer.
Sure.
So, in news this week, we have an NWA biopic, which is, what was it? It's Niggas Without Authority or something like that?
With attitude.
With attitude, that's what it was. But
how do you not know?
Niggas is spelled with a Z. I'm Puerto Rican, okay? We don't have rap, we have reggaeton.
You are close to America. You get all our music.
That is literally the farthest away that you can get from America.
People
without
in
going
the
to
Middle
Hawaii.
East are just now getting the EPs dropping from NWA. I'm sure they know.
I had never heard of NWA until I read these news.
What?
Yeah.
How
Fun
about
fact.
what's the other one with is NWA the one with Flava Flav and
No.
Which one is with
This is the one with Dr. Dre and with
Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Which one has Flava Flav in it?
I have no idea.
Public Enemy. Oh, that's the other one.
Okay.
Wasn't Flava Flav and Public Enemy, which was like NWA and Public Enemy kind of came up at the same time.
Right.
And then there's also Run DMC.
Yeah.
All part of that.
Yeah. And so basically this movie finally has a cast. And it's funny because the actual person that is, it's based off of Ice Cube is his son. That's the person that's going to be playing him.
He's playing a Jaden Smith.
Yeah. And the movie will hit theaters in August 14th, 2015. So, interesting. I don't know. We'll see how they do it because it can go really bad or it can go really good.
I have some news.
Okay.
Transformers 5 is confirmed from 2016.
Oh, really?
So, can we just talk about the Transformers 4 trailer?
Okay.
How stupid is that? That movie looks terrible.
It looks like everything that you could want out of a Michael Bay Transformer.
There are dinosaurs that breathe fire!
Have you not?
This movie was made by a 6-year-old!
Dude, it's the dino.
I get it! But it's stupid! It has such a cool premise. Like, Transformers are now hunted because of the metal. And then Optimus Prime, we need a new army. No, you need to sell fucking toys! That's what this movie is.
And the worst part is, we're gonna see it.
No!
I'm gonna see it.
You can see it. I don't want to see it.
I
haven't seen Transformers 2 or 3.
You should not watch 2.
I saw half of it and I fell asleep.
Right. 3, however, is decent. it's a return to the original style of the first Transformers, which I think it got a bit more flack than it should have. Yes, it was explosion porn, but I think that it was a pretty cool movie. It was a really enjoyable summer blockbuster, and I don't think I think it has like a 50-something% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. I think it deserves a little bit higher, maybe like a 65 or so.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to. I don't.
Well, I'm gonna.
Gain was terrible.
Well, that's because it was basically Bad Boys with weightlifters
and no budget.
Yeah, right. Anyway, no budget? Are you kidding me? A ton of budget. Did you see those
comparatively?
Those cars?
Comparatively.
Fair. Okay, fair. All right. So anyway, other news is the fact that Stephen Sondheim is talking about Disney's
Infinity.
No, Into the Woods. And it is a movie that is based on these really weird and like creepy spins on classic fairy tales that involve like bestiality and rape and cheating and sex and fornication and death and killing and crazy stuff.
So it's anything that Disney has done before.
Yeah, well, yeah, but basically Disney decided to censor most of this stuff.
Well,
is the point.
Like there's the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Right.
Do you know what happens at the original ending of that?
Yes.
He dies.
Yeah.
In a really sad way.
Yeah, and the dude, the actual Catholic priest, is having some really disgusting sexual things with the woman and stuff like that. Yeah,
right.
It's awful. Yeah.
Disney edits.
Yeah, right. But Stephen Sondheim was like,
they made Hamlet with lions.
Right,
so they edit.
Right. But anyway, it's interesting that he's having to sacrifice so much because Into the Woods is on Broadway. And Stephen Sondheim is the same person that actually wrote all of the music for Sweeney Todd, which is great music. I love that music. And he's a great, fantastic music person. And I don't know. It's interesting that he has to censor so much, but we'll see how it ends up being. But apparently that movie has an insane cast. Like, they have people, obviously, they have Johnny Depp, they have Lily Crawford, they have Chris Pine,
Tim Burton directing it,
Emily Blunt, people like that. I have no idea if Tim Burton's directing it. I mean, no.
Probably producing it.
No, because he doesn't have his wife in it kissing Johnny Depp. So, but anyway, that's
why he's only producing it.
Right. So do you have any more news?
Well, you can see here.
Okay. Marvel is considering a Hulk standalone movie. Really?
So Mark Ruffalo came out. Yes, said that Marvel is considering a Hulk standalone movie. I'm hoping it's the one where Hulk goes to a different planet and becomes like the ruler there.
Ruler of the planet? That'd be interesting.
It's a weird series. Yeah, he goes there and he's like a gladiator.
Interesting.
It's like a planet and. Yeah, so that's what I'm hoping it is. It probably won't be that because it's like John Carter on Mars, and Disney doesn't want another one of those. But who knows? It's the Hulk, which is way more recognizable than John Carter.
Right.
Which was a great movie. You should go see John Carter on Mars.
I would like to see John Carter.
You should see John Carter on Mars.
All right, so next bit of news.
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
So
we can talk about E3.
No, we can't. So anyway, come on! We are done. We are done. Thank you all for watching. I'm Kulguy. That's the Cognitive Gamer, and we are here. I want to point at you. Can I touch you?
No, don't touch my awesome shirt.
Can I touch you?
No, stop! I just got the glasses clean.
So anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. You can watching because I'm watching you. I'm getting so confused right now having you in front of me. So. Thank you all for listening. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at the right pad. He is at Cognitive Gamer, doing dick motions to me right now because you can't see it. Anyway, so you can follow us on Twitter. You can email us with Netflix movie suggestions on postgradentertainment@gmail.com.
All one word.
Right, all one word. And you can also check us out on Facebook.
The is an @ symbol as well.
Right. You can also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/postgradent, or check us out by typing in Postgrad Entertainment on Facebook.
You type in Facebook into the URL, and then you go there, you sign in to Facebook. And then you search Postgrad Entertainment for that. Yeah.
And I also wanted to point out the fact that this entire episode has been dedicated to Robert, who commented on one of our posts.
It's already dedicated. It's already dedicated to the Bone Wedding.
Well, it's dedicated to the Bone Wedding, but it's also dedicated to Robert, and I'll tell you why. Because Robert actually commented on one of our posts to the previous podcast, saying that he only listens to podcasts which have to do with him. So considering the fact that he only listens to podcasts which are only having to do with him, I feel that every podcast from here on out will be dedicated to Robert.
I don't agree with that.
So, Robert, happy dedication.
No, Robert, grow up. Not everything's about you. Let me tell you what. Robert, I'm going to give you some hard reality, okay? This is a podcast made for our listeners, which may include you, but it's not about you. Get over yourself, cry me a river, build a bridge, and get over it. Okay? Is that fine?
That's like Cognitive Gamer out. Drop the microphone.
Yeah. Sounds a death horn.
Like when he was in the slam poetry thing competition.
I was in this. I was like, I was in a slam poetry competition.
No,
I could recite it for you if you'd like. Money, flowing makes the honey.
Flowing river, objectification, money, business is the power.
Keeps me down.
Keeps me down.
Keeps me down.
Exactly. You know what? You want to hear the worst part about it is the fact that I won 3rd place in a slam poetry competition.
Yeah,
at one point.
Give it to me.
No, I'm not gonna. No.
River.
It's
like my liver because it always flows through and never
Have a good
against
week.
the grain.
Goodbye.
I'll catch you on the flip side. Cool side. Pillow logic.